Jaron, everybody tries to get at this concept of consciousness one way or another. You've had so many fascinating careers, particularly virtual reality, which forces you to think differently. How can you think differently and help us with consciousness?
Well, here's one of a variety of tracks I've taken, which I've found to be helpful. One of the things that I'm most skeptical of is people who present what seems like an airtight argument suggesting that we have this whole consciousness question under wraps. And one way to investigate these things is the reductio ad absurdum, to just push the logic of these airtight explanations until they break, and they do. So here's an example. One of the most popular thought experiments that people propose to explain away consciousness is a variation of the old saw about the axe, about where you replace the blade, you replace the handle, you still have the axe. So in this case, what you do is you start replacing neurons in your brain. You can replace them with little radio transponders that communicate with simulated neurons in a computer. You keep on going until you've replaced all the neurons. And by the way, I've worked on simulated neurons in a variety of projects.
And the way you say it is you do one, have you changed consciousness? Well, one out of a couple hundred billion,
they're dying all the time.
Yeah.
But then you do them all, and then at some point, has your brain been transferred to the computer or to the software? Is the computer conscious, etc.? All right, we're going to push that a little bit further. I am going to propose a thought experiment, infinite computer store. Now, what you do is you can go in with any program and you start trying it on different computers. It crashes almost all of them, but every once in a while you find a computer where the program runs. But it always does something different. You know, for one computer, it's like tax software. For another one, you go through a million that it doesn't work on, and then you come to one where suddenly it's a video game, because they're all different computers that run the same program in different ways. Now we're going to gather some crazy data. We're going to use laser scanners to gather the trajectories of all the hailstorms stones. So this enormous portrait of all of these falling hailstones. And we're going to turn it into a big file of numbers. And remember, that's all a program is, a big file of numbers. And we're going to take this into the computer store and search and search and search and search. The universe might not exist in its current form. It'll have cooled off into something very different, but eventually
we'll find a computer.
We'll find a computer that runs your brain. So now I've made the hailstorm conscious. Okay, now, of course this is absurd, but that's the point. The point is that these thought experiments that propose to destroy the idea of a dualistic consciousness always rely on a sneaky set of definitions that actually we can't make. So what I think this reductio ad absurdum shows is that you couldn't, in the first place, define what you were talking about. Not only can't you say whether the consciousness is in the brain or the computer, but you can't say whether it's in the hailstorm either. So the whole project is ridiculous to begin with. And this just brings me back to the very simple idea that if we're modest about what we claim, the world is more magical, science is more robust, life is better.
So what's the implications of that for the study of consciousness?
Well, I think it suggests that if we want to use the computer as the model of what a consciousness is as we speak about it in the vernacular, then we have a problem, because the perception of a computer is a rather mysterious thing. Now this is a bit of a subtle point, and one might explain it is that if a genuinely weird alien showed up and we presented this alien with a computer, say a Macintosh, how would it know it's a computer? It has no cultural context. As far as it's concerned, it's a space heater. So what makes those bits real? Now, you see, the people who don't believe in subjectivity or consciousness or whatever we might get away with calling it have a little airtight universe where everything makes sense to them. But the people who believe in subjectivity also have an airtight universe that's just as robust.
Yes.
And so in that universe, you can say there's this mysterious context, there's this mysterious subjectivity. The way I used to put it is information is alienated consciousness or experience. Information is alienated experience. That's what I used to say in my 20s.
I have to think about that.
Yeah, well, it's like there's ultimately, all this information can only be real if it's experienced somehow, so it has some meaning or reality. That's the sort of point of view that a subjectivist or a disciplined dualist could take on, which is absolutely as airtight as the point of view that these anti-consciousness people have, absolutely as legitimate. So from that point of view, the computer isn't even there unless there's somebody to experience it. Otherwise, it's just more physics moving around. It's just, in fact, if you really take this point of view further, there's a fascinating thing that happens. Let me ask you a question. If you got rid of consciousness, how would the universe be different? If it just disappeared?
Well, that's a fundamental question.
Okay, so
some people would say if it's not different at all, and there's no difference between a universe that has consciousness and doesn't have consciousness, that means that consciousness is something different than the physical universe.
Well, okay. So let's look at our possible answers. We could say, if consciousness is suddenly removed from the universe, there's no change at all because consciousness wasn't anything, or was so removed that it's irrelevant, or something like that. Another answer is the universe collapses and disappears. Because
that's a radical approach.
That would be like the old Wheeler idea that observation is necessary to reality. Another idea is that what we meant was something neurological. So everything would be similar, but people would be a little more awkward or dumb, or maybe smarter, who knows. There's another interesting answer, and here it is. All of the trajectories of all the particles, all the quarks would be doing the same thing. Everything would be moving as it was before, but there would be no gross objects. There would be no words, no things that words refer to. There would be no bits. There would only be these particles moving around. That the whole construction of all these gross objects, including the idea that a bit has meaning, is dual.
Well, that would mean that consciousness antedates human beings.
Yeah, I mean, it's one possible answer. I'm not suggesting that I believe in it in any particular way, but I also don't disbelieve in it in any particular way.
Look, I think to explore all the options of what consciousness may be is exactly what we should be doing now. We should not be limiting any sense of consciousness. And if I want to react, that sounds radical or ridiculous, that's a compliment. That is not a criticism.
I think the question of why a bit is actually profound. I don't think it's so easy. And I think anyone who thinks it's easy, let's forget about brains, forget about people. Why is a bit instead of just a bunch of electrons? And
so what you're saying then is that we have one problem of consciousness that I think we have one, but what you're saying there may be more than one fundamental question, that in addition to the problem of what is consciousness in the universe, we have the question is what is information in the universe? And that may be an equally profound question, and to take it one step further, they may have some relationship.
Well, we use the word information to mean different things, and of course there's Shannon's idea of information, which is the primary definition used in a technical sense, where it's related to entropy, and it's an extraordinarily beautiful formulation. But that doesn't really tell us what important information is, what really influential information is. And that is actually rather mysterious, and it's very hard to untangle that from the question of subjectivity, ultimately.